Yeah. So it's actually really cool that you guys made it, because I think most of the world doesn't even know about this talk tonight, or had so many arrangements that there was, you know, a lot going on in people's lives. So it's great to see some people here. Um, as always, when I do these talks, it's always such a privilege to actually even have an audience. So any meditation teacher must appreciate having an audience. So that's great. But I like to talk about what's been happening in my life. And when I was doing these for the last couple of months, I was in Mexico. And usually we have some questions from the morning meeting or something that's usually fueled my desire of what I wanted to share with you guys. And it's been kind of an interesting subject that's been kicking around the last few days, because right before I left Mexico, actually the last night I was in Mexico, which was Saturday night, they had wanted someone to share with them some hope and some reasoning and some advice to do with the immensity of the earthquakes that had been happening in their country and the devastation that had happened because of that. And so it was a privilege for me that they actually asked me to do that with them. They wanted me to just help in any way possible, to give them some advice or some sense of hope of what, when the earth moves under your feet, it's a very, very scary thing. And I'm pretty sure we've all had a lot of things that have happened in our lives, which is scary. Most people go through some sort of intensity. And I'm looking at one person right now that I know has just been through a hurricane. So, I mean, we all have different things that have gone on and still getting over the effects of them, you know. And so what I really, really appreciated about the ability or the invitation I had to talk to the Mexican crowd was they were still living in the surroundings of buildings that had toppled down and people that were in immense fear, because when the earth shakes like that, there's always the possibility it's going to happen again until you just start to forget. And coming from New Zealand, I come from a country of earthquakes too. We're on the Pacific Ring of Fire, and earthquakes, well, slight tremors are really common, and then you get the big ones every now and again. We had a big one just recently, 5 years ago or something. And so that feeling of that fear is a hard one to shake, because it's like the very foundation that you sit on, that you stand on, that your house is built on shakes. And it really does something to your trust or to your perspective of what this is all about. And I believe that's the same for any trauma or any intense situation that anybody goes through. We've had 2 big hurricanes hit in the lower states of America. There's been bushfires up in the north. There's always tornadoes crossing the center, and there's a lot of people that experience just intensity that then they have to learn to move on or deal with it or work out how to incorporate this into their life. There's this new feeling of uncertainty. And my message, hopefully the message, not actually just my message, the other night to the Mexicans was, it's okay. It's okay whatever you feel. Like this whole path of becoming more conscious, the desire to wake up, the desire to be free, the desire to be the biggest and best you can be with your life, however that looks. It's so easy and so common for all of us to try and put that into a box of what that is supposed to look like for us. And to most of us, 1 + 1 = 2. And so the box is confined. It's stuck. And it means I have to be happy. I have to be peaceful. And that is it. That is enlightenment to me. And if I'm not happy and if I'm not feeling immense peace right now, well, then I've got some work to do, man. I've got to get on the bus and get working or get doing something, because obviously I'm not doing it right. And I know a lot of people come to meditation because that's what they want, in contrast to the life they've been living. So yes, excellent. And what they do start to discover is that, yes, they can have a lot of peace or a lot more peace. And yes, life does become more joyful and happy because we're not taking things so personal, and those negative thoughts aren't ruling our life. So yes, peace and happiness does increase in our experience and is the natural law of the universe. But it's an internal experience that is actually beyond the concepts of what we even believe peace and happiness to be. Because we always have an idea what it should be like. This is happiness, and happiness means I'm laughing and I'm blissed out and nothing can touch me. Everything's just good. Peace means that everything's just smooth sailing and there's not even a ripple going on. And so we have ideas of what these words mean. And so when we're not experiencing that, or the universe throws something pretty intense our way, this idea is very easy to pick up that we're now not happy, we're now not peaceful, so there's something I'm doing wrong. Yet, in my experience, the universe, or the experience of right now is so unpersonal in one way that whatever is in my experience is allowed to be there. You know, it's like giving us permission to the smorgasbord of what God could be, the infiniteness of the infinite, the hugeness of the universe. It's like actually saying, well, yeah, it's there. And today it looks like a heckload of energy, and maybe I could call it fear because, you know, my building next door to me just fell down in an earthquake, or a cyclone just tore up my neighbor's house. And yeah, I've got a little bit of intensity going on, and it's okay. So where do we get these ideas that it's not okay? It's the mind, of course. It's the concepts that we have to look a certain way. And that wonderful quality that all of humanity has of, I'm not doing it right, I've got to change this, and then I'm going to be right. I mean, who doesn't have that? So we pick up that thread again and again of saying there's something wrong. And now we point it back at our own experience of ascending, or our own experience of what we believe peace to be, or our own experience of bliss that's just not there right now because, you know, a tree fell on my house and I've got to deal with it. So those concepts of what we think the infinite should be like, or this peace, or this word, what's the word? Enlightenment, that we box so that if we're not experiencing what we believe we should be experiencing, and we're experiencing something else, then suddenly there's a problem. And it's like, no, that's not this path. This path isn't to box something else. This path isn't to make up another concept and have another whip on our shoulders of how we need to be. This path is the surrender to this moment and allowing the union with God to exist. That's what this path is. That's the whole point of this dance, is the ability to let go into this moment and completely with wide opens go, I'm here. This is it. And this moment is perfect. And it could be no matter what you're experiencing, because there's no label to it if you're experiencing this moment. If you're completely surrendering to this moment, there's no label, there's no box, there's no idea, there's no comparison. If yesterday was calm and today it isn't, there's no comparison if you're right here, right now. That has to come from the mind. That has to come from looking at the past and having an idea of what you should be experiencing now, and the beautiful projection into the future of what we should be doing in the future too. Oh, that's the beautiful dance of time and our relationship to it. So we completely skip the infiniteness of our experience and allowing all the flavors to exist there in perfection, in absolute perfection. And yet we shrink it all down to go, these words, this little list here of about 10 words, that's what I'm allowed to have. And if I'm not experiencing that, then I'm not still enough, I'm not conscious enough, I'm not using my techniques good enough, I'm doing something wrong and I have to do more. You know, that's the dance. That's the incredible dance of waking up. And to see it in such a in your face, you know, clarity is a gift for us to once again see where we label things and expect something to be different. The same loop that just looking a slightly different way to what we actually are offered in the first sphere with the first 4 techniques. the ability to change that idea or that impression that we're constantly looking at things differently and not allowing what is in this moment to be good, perfect, divine. So even the idea of someone being terrified, or even the idea that there's a heck of a lot of energy racing through you and you feel like you don't know what to do, why is that wrong? It's only wrong when we believe it's wrong. It's only wrong when our truth, what we're holding on to as our goal, is put outside of ourselves and is an expectation for a future moment. And isn't that fascinating to see? Because when we learn about meditation, when we learn about the bright path, when we learn about these tools and techniques that help us to move the scattered mind back into the present moment, it's like we hear these things, but it sounds like it's only applicable to, okay, I'm in a lot of stress, which is bad, and so now I've got to come back to this moment and experience peace, which is good. And so we can easily take on the concepts and the beliefs and the desire, that it comes from a good place, a loving place towards ourselves of wanting to change. But it limits us still. Freedom is letting go of everything. Freedom is allowing whatever is in your experience in this moment to be absolutely fine. Freedom is completely surrendering to this moment and recognizing the divinity there. Freedom is allowing the eternalness of this moment to exist without judgment. Judgment puts me back in there again. Time puts me back in there again. It's that complete ability to just surrender to now, however it looks. And for some things it's obvious, like I was talking to someone today about body pain, and they could see it. They could see the story and the dance around body pain to go, oh yeah, I can get that. I can really see where pain can be a gift for me just to be present. Okay? So we all have our moments when it's clarified for us, which is brilliant. That's how the learning exists, for us to have our own relationship with it, so it becomes our own concrete truth. Well, concrete enough because even that keeps expanding, right? You can't put a line onto any of this. As soon as we put a line on it, we've conceptualized it again. As soon as we say, oh, this is how it is for me, we've boxed in the universe, because in the next infinite moment, it might be different. God loves to play. And so we can't hang on to anything. And so we want to. That's what the mind is. When we are living from the mind and attached to the mind and totally, addicted to the mind, listening to the mind, those thoughts that want to tell us, this is how it is. This is how it's going to be. I know this. This is what it is. Those are the things. Those are the thoughts, those sneaky little devils that we put our attention on and we go, yeah, I know. I got it. I've sorted it out. I've worked it out. I'm on track. I know exactly what's going on. And no, you don't. Because in that moment, you've actually conceptualized and boxed out your experience. Because the infinite is wide open and surrendered to this moment. The only way it can be experienced. And so that gives us the freedom to be whoever we need to be in this moment. Whatever's happening in our experience is okay. If there's emotions about that need tears, if there's emotions that the heart's racing, if there's emotions that we're flushing or whatever, it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, I've done something bad, I'm thinking. It's like, no, it's the surrendering to whatever is in this moment, and it's perfectly okay. One of the many things that catches people is that idea that emotions are bad, feelings are bad. And when we start to play with the dynamic of what is the stillest part of our experience, where is this experience, this eternal experience? We're so addicted to the mind and to thinking. How do we transcend that to actually really just rest back into now, without getting caught up into the habit of thinking or feeling or needing something to be different? And so, yes, as we learn to dive back into that experience of this moment and to discover that infiniteness and that peace that does reside there, our relationship, and this is probably true for everybody, our relationship with that word, peace, starts to change. And I remember when I was starting to play with this, that people would be sharing in a meeting like, I had so many thoughts today and I had tons of energy and emotions going on, but underneath all of that, I could experience peace. And I'm going, really? I don't know about that. If I'm caught in emotions, I'm caught. I'm an emotional basket case. So where's the peace in that? No. I'm not. I didn't get that. I hear what you're saying. I'm happy for you, but no, that's not my experience. And this was interesting when I was doing my mastery course, because I was up against it quite a lot, because there seemed to be these people that would, go through their day and then share these really cool experiences at night. And I'm watching them going, good for you, but I don't know if I can honestly say that's what I'm experiencing. And I've realized that one day when I did have emotions or pain or whatever, I'm a pain person, I get migraines and stuff. And so I realized there was one day when I had something going on and I was willing to just see it a different way. And so there's a key right there. It's not about stopping it. It's not about it being wrong. In fact, it's not about it at all. But let's just start with our relationship to whatever it is, pain. Let's just go with pain for the story. And as soon as I was willing to just let it be there, and especially when it comes to body pain, the stories around all that is usually like, what the heck did I just do? And I really want this to go away now. What do I need to do to make it go away? And so there's a lot of ownership there. Usually with emotions, a lot of ownership. Why am I feeling this? I should be more conscious than this. Why is these emotions? Why do I keep crying? Why do I feel like this? Why is my heart breaking? Like ownership to it. What do I need to do to get past this? So we own it, we box it, we take it, and we so make it ours that there's no possibility for this experience to be depersonalized, or for this beautiful space to be experienced, because we're taking it. But one time I remember hearing all my room classmates sharing how they always experience or seem to experience peace when all this stuff's going on for them, and I went, okay, I've got a live example going on right now. So how do I experience peace and calmness and happiness and joy and all that good stuff and enlightenment while my head's feeling like it's about to explode with a hammer and a nail going through it? And I realized in that moment how much concepts I had bought into. And the pattern in that moment for me, firstly, was that, yes, there's something wrong. Yes, I hate this pain and it's got to go. There's something wrong. Secondly, it's to do with me. I did it. I must have done something to cause this, and I need to do something for it to go. And if I was stiller, maybe it would go right now. So there was so much ownership involved in that. I still didn't see that I'm thinking, right? I'm still thinking, and I didn't see that. Then I realized I was thinking. And that's the key. It's like, again, creating that ability to have that space, which is to make whatever, or to allow whatever is happening in your experience to be objectified. And I remember talking about this a few Zoom calls ago. It's my favorite word, how to allow something to be the object. Thoughts, feelings, emotions, pain, sensations, fear, all of that stuff. Allow it to be objective. Now, what does that mean? How does it become an object? When we're thinking about it, it's ours. We're owning it. It's mine. So it's subjective. It's what I'm experiencing and what I'm going through. And usually there's a lot of judgment to that. I don't want it. When's it going to go? And so when it becomes objectified, it's simply there in the experience. That is the whole path of this practice. The whole path of the bright path is to allow whatever's there to be there, but it's objective. It's not who you are. And so by creating that distance to just simply observe, there's another key word, to simply observe and allow, my favorite word, allow it to just be there. There's no judgment to what it is, how long it's been there, when it's going to leave, or how intense it is. You're simply present to it in this moment without any judgment to it. And right there, as soon as you can see it as being simply part of your beautiful experience, part of your divine experience. So it in itself is not a problem. It's divine as well. That's God right there. That pain, that emotion. There's no separation. Have we heard that one before? There's no separation. The infinite is infinite. If there's no separation, well, then that body pain's God as well. That intensity is God. That fear is God. That emotion in your heart is God. All of it's perfect. It becomes separate when it becomes this thing. It becomes this thing that we want to change when we start to label and create a story around it and want it to go, because it's a problem, apparently. It's not a problem when it's simply sitting there in the experience and we can just simply observe it. In fact, then it's just like, oh, hello, this is part of my experience right now. And so in that moment, we've created the space. We've created it to be an object within the eternalness of now. There's complete surrender to it because there's nothing wrong with what you're experiencing. So there's complete surrender to it just simply being there. The story around it doesn't exist anymore because there's complete presence to it. There's no more wanting to work it out or fix it. And so our whole relationship to what actually is happening in our experience changes, perhaps to peace. Now, it's a peace that we experience here in that beautiful ability to simply observe. It's this word peace or this label peace that perhaps we can dare to put on it because it's simply not consuming us anymore. We're present to everything. We're allowing everything to simply exist. And so there's this peace within that. So that box or that concept of the word peace, which we expect everything to just flow and be in harmony and, hold hands and dance through the rainbows, it's not the same as that. It's now become a living experience in this moment. And so it's different. It's the difference between something being alive and something being stale. The concept of peace is stale. It has boxes, it has connotations, it has time, it has comparisons, it has so much weight to it because we believe we know it and we have to find it. The experience of peace is alive and vibrant and light and free because it doesn't have the box to it. It doesn't have the connotations. There's actually it's a very strange thing because even though you're using the word peace, you could use many different words as well. But you're recognizing there's this existence that's happening by you observing whatever's passing through and allowing that in its perfection to just be there. That's peace. It's living it, alive with it, present with it. And that's the experience of peace. While there's a hurricane or an earthquake or emotions or, all the stuff going on, that's the peace. It's an alive experience. It's the same with the word love. We have so many ideas about love and what that should feel like, what that should look like, what that should be like. And that's a whole other world of concepts compared to the world of living love. When you live love, especially from this present moment, there's nothing that boxes it in. There's absolutely no expectations. And it's a source that's within you. So it doesn't need anyone to fuel it. And it doesn't have an on and off switch. It doesn't even have a dimmer switch. It doesn't get lighter or more intense. It's simply present to whatever is showing up in the experience. So what I love about this practice is how we keep evolving and learning how to live life, live fully in this moment, in this life, with whatever the universe is giving us. And it could be as simple as just getting out of bed and going into the kitchen and kicking the table and dealing with that, or it could be something as contrasting as a natural disaster. It could be something as simple but very emotional as somebody really pushing your buttons with something you deeply believe in, or something you truly believe is ethical and shouldn't be touched. So we have an emotional charge to that, or a relationship to that. So there's all these different things in life that cause us to be human and cause us to live and react and be in this world through our filters, through our personality, through our way of dealing with what we're given. And yet the contrast to an unconscious life versus a conscious life is simply our relationship to how we deal with things. And like I said, it's not about us being blissed out and happy all the time. That's not being conscious. That's being happy. Being conscious is being present. So there's a step beyond just becoming a little bit more happy in our lives, which is great. I love everyone to be more happy. But to be more conscious, to be more present to everything. Now that's a different league. That's the difference between just being and being in the world and actually being present to this moment, to this eternal moment, and allowing whatever has been shown to us to recognize the divinity in that, to recognize the continuum in that there's no stopping point from me and a starting point to that is the problem, that is outside of me, that is my issue. It's like, well, no, by continuing to play with just being present and allowing whatever's in your experience to just be okay, that barrier between me and that has to fall away. It can only stay there, and it only be maintained there by us constantly looking at that and thinking that it's something outside of myself. For the conversation I've just had, yes, I've said there's me, the observer, and that the movement, or that's in my experience. So yes, that means that it appears to be like this too, right? But in the first steps of becoming conscious, yes, to create that distance and that objectiveness is vital, absolutely vital for you to become the observer, the alert ability to be present to this moment. And by just doing that and allowing your experience to stay contentment in this moment without any need for anything to change or any need for you to leave this moment, like to return to the mind and think, but allow yourself to be present and content to stay in this moment observing, then you start to experience a different relationship again to what appears to be that movement, what appears to be that stuff that we're separating ourselves from, that we used to get caught up in. And what naturally happens in that ability to just be here, that you start to change the relationship to what appears to be outside of yourself. And you start to realize that it's inside. And the outside of you doesn't actually exist. There is no outside of yourself. Because you're identifying to the eternal nature of things, to the present moment, to that infiniteness, then everything else is within that infiniteness. It has to be. Does that make sense? You can't have something outside infinity. I don't know how that's starting to fry my brain. How could you even put something outside of infinity? It's like when people say, oh, you look up into the night sky and it just keeps going, there's no end. And you go, well, there has to be an end. And it's like, well, no, there's not an end, but it keeps expanding. You're like, expanding into what? There's no end. And the mathematical formula suddenly takes up a whole chalkboard, and the scientists are saying, well, I know, but it's true. It's infinite and it's expanding. And you're like, I'm fried. And it's like the same as this conversation. I'm trying not to fry you, but it's like when you start to change your relationship to feeling stuff and owning stuff, so it feels like it's you, and then it moves outside of you to be, you're the observer of that. And then that relationship starts to change again, that it's actually inside the enormity of who you really are. Not me, the individual, looking at my body pain, but me, the infiniteness, observing the changes within my experience of this moment. And that's a pretty cool thing, because then you realize that nothing's out of place. Can I highlight that and put some words up here? Nothing is out of place. nothing's wrong, nothing's a problem. It's impossible, because you, the observer, you, the witness of it, is simply observing what is there. And in that grandness of what you are experiencing, there's no separation. So if there's no separation, that has to be a part of you too. The pain, the fear, the emotions, what else we've been talking about? Thoughts. Let's just go with thoughts. All of that is a part of you and is perfectly placed in your experience in this moment. So nothing is wrong. Oh my gosh, we've been trying so hard to change and to get enlightened and to be free and to wake up, and yet it's the opposite. It's actually recognizing that this moment and the surrender to whatever you're experiencing in this moment is all. All. There's nowhere else. There's nothing else. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing else in there. It's simply what you're experiencing in this moment, and it's perfect because it's you. It's you recognizing the immensity of who you are. And that's such a gift, because there's nothing wrong with what you experience. So to come back full circle of what we were just talking about, does that mean when I feel like crying, it's okay? Yes. Does it mean if I have a moment of wondering what the heck just happened in my world, is that okay? Yes. It gives us complete freedom. There's that word again. Complete freedom to be free. Imagine if freedom wasn't feeling free. Imagine if freedom was feeling like we're in a box again. It just doesn't even make sense, does it? So freedom has to be the ability to be completely 100% me in this moment. It couldn't be any other way. It'd be, what's that word, an oxymoron? Ooh, I've been studying some big words to impress you guys. And if you don't know what an oxymoron is, I can't really explain it. Yes, I can. It's the opposites. Two opposites actually making sense and meaning the same thing. So an oxymoron means it shouldn't actually mean the same, but it does. And that's totally our language within the Ishayas, because everything's light or dark, heavy or light, infinite, yet right here, you're just like going, bzz, bzz, doesn't make sense. And none of it makes sense, but all of it does when you experience it. And that's what I love, love, love about consciousness, is it cannot be put into a box. You put into a box, you've already conceptualized it, and you've already shut down 99.99 of your universe. Because the rest of it's free and wide open, and you're saying, nope, this is what it has to be. This is it. Yep. Goodbye, universe. This is it. It doesn't make sense. It can't. It has to be the ability to let go of everything. Let go of all the ideas. Let go of all the opinions. Let go of even what you think truth is. Isn't that an amazing one? What is your truth? What does truth mean to you? Well, that's interesting, because what does it mean to me? What's true for me is what I experience in this moment, and that's my truth. And so that becomes very contrasting and contradictory if then somebody talks to me in a week's time and goes, well, what's your truth? Or what are you experiencing? So how do I understand you? And I'm like, well, you probably will never understand me, because my name's Jaya. No, but because what I believe in is being present and having the freedom to express whatever that is in this moment without any attachment or without any idea of what it should look like. So what is my truth? I don't even know if I have a truth, because that's like conceptualizing again. So it's very weird, isn't it? It's like these things that we hang on to and believe in and move towards, and this is my goal, and this is what my life is built on. Maybe the next moment it's not actually true anymore, or valid, or important, because this moment is where you're alive, where you recognize God, where you live that experience. So it starts to throw everything up in the air a little bit, doesn't it? Because does that mean I could be sitting in my house and having all this stuff going on, and and feeling really, really depressed, and that means I'm conscious? Well, that is a really good question, and probably no. It means you're probably not conscious if you're feeling depressed because you've labeled it. So it's like giving yourself permission to be whatever is happening without the label, without the story, without the need to know why, without the idea that anything has to make sense. Put more attention into this moment and discovering what that is. Put more desire into resting back into this moment and experiencing what this moment means to you. Like, why should you even bother? Why should I even bother do this? And so give yourself the chance, or give yourself the game, the play, to discover what is ascension and what are these techniques. The techniques are tools. The garden is the garden, but the tools help the garden become beautiful. So the tools are our beautiful tools, but the teaching, why are we doing this thing called the bright path? Why are we committed to this practice? The tools are helping us to become present. The presence of this moment is everything. The alertness to be able to maintain the experience of being present is everything. The experience of what that alertness naturally becomes, so I can remain here naturally, is everything. And then recognizing that eternal nature in that alertness that's naturally present to this moment, and then surrendering even more into that, so that I know through my experience that it is eternal, that it's not just this word, but I'm experiencing the eternal nature of everything without any separation, through an experience by me continuously just allowing this moment to exist. That's the goal, if you want to call it a goal, because that, again, implies time and, going somewhere. But it's like, that's what this teaching's all about. And then living that while all of the stuff's happening and we're experiencing all of this craziness that life just simply is, without any need to change anything, with complete ability to be present to things and go, well, this is my crazy experience right now. To be able to laugh at it and go, okay, this is what's going on. I've got tears, I've got emotions. It's to let it be okay. And to see where we go into those old ancient patterns, that there's something wrong and I should not be doing this. I should not be experiencing this. And just seeing that and going, oh, I don't need you. Bring it on. This is what I'm experiencing and it's okay. It gives us so much freedom to be able to play that way, and to be able to see how life can fully be lived 100%. And even that, I used to hear, because of the puja and because of various things in our teaching, we talk about living 100%, being full on, live 100%. And so I thought it meant of all the things I was going to do and all the things that, God had lined up for me. And I had to make this phone call and get there and do that and do all these things, because that's living 100%. No, well, maybe for you, maybe for me, but that's not the solidness of the teaching, the foundation of this teaching. Living 100% is that ability to actually be living in your experience of this moment, knowing, experiencing that this is perfection right now without looking for anything else. That ability to just reside here and recognize what that is and allow that to be your experience without judgment, however it is in this moment, however it is. That's the goal of our life. That's what this is all about. It's fascinating. I love it. It's like life is our teacher. Our life is constantly showing us where we react and then we let go, where we judge and then we let go, where we get frustrated and then we let go. I mean, that is our teacher forever. Is showing us how we can just be more playful and discovering how much more we can surrender to this moment and letting that be whatever it is. And I think there's been plenty going on at the moment in these last months to keep teaching us how that actually is our truth, and how anytime we collect or identify with the thoughts that are saying that, something needs to change, or I'm not good enough, like how many times does that come up? And it's just not necessary to listen to that. We have an amazing teaching and incredible techniques, tools that change our attention from what's wrong to what is, and the ability to surrender to that and to allow that. It's amazing in its simplicity. And yet, because we're complex humans, and we are, we've been created the way we are, we have personalities the way we have, and we have collected ideas of what we believe is right and worth defending over and over and over again. And we like to feel safe within the confinements of concepts. We really do. And so for some people to play with moving out of that and just seeing how many more concepts we need to move out of, or how many more boxes shroud, is that a word, cover the truth, or our experience of living the truth, of our own truth in this moment, and let your truth be good enough. You're not chasing my truth. My truth is mine. Stay away from it. Your truth is yours. And it's beautiful. And it has to be that way. It has to be yours. Because otherwise, again, there's a concept locked in there. So it's that ability to keep allowing whatever we're experiencing to be fine is what gives us that beautiful relationship to our world, and stops us from needing to change everything or needing to fix everything. And then what happens is you start to step out in your daily life with the inner knowledge, or the inner feeling, I guess is a good word, of just knowingness. It is a knowingness that just everything's okay, and that's what I've learned with what I was saying, how my classmates used to talk about they had so many thoughts today, but they could experience peace, and I didn't get it. I didn't understand what they were saying at all. It did not make sense. I was either in my thoughts or I wasn't. And I didn't understand how you could be experiencing all these thoughts and still have peace. But it's like the experience doesn't need to change at all. And that's incredible. Whatever you're experiencing doesn't need to change. It can be there. It should be there. It's there because it is. But your relationship to it is what then gives you the experience of oneness or peace while that's happening. And even that, who cares what that feels like? Who cares what that looks like? It's just simply there. You experiencing, you present to whatever's going on. And sometimes just doing your best just to cope. And that's good enough. That whip that we need to do more or be something else, that's just old. We don't need that. And that's what stifles us and stops us from just being 100%. Now, there we go. 100% is resting back into this moment completely. 100% is allowing whatever's in your experience to be absolutely fine. 100% is recognizing that the greatest thing you can do is surrender completely to this moment. Allow, let go, see those concepts and ideas, and just come back to now. And that's what living 100% is. From that platform, you do what you need to do. You say what you need to say. You dance through your life, or you pick up what you need to pick up and change what you need to change. But you're coming from a platform of stability of this moment, of living completely in the infiniteness of your experience, of the eternal nature of the universe, that the greatness of who you are exists there. And then from that place, you live your life. So this idea that you're going to get it, or this idea that when we try harder, it's going to be more obvious. I mean, for me, there was a lot of learning, and there's been a lot of things that have evolved, but it's evolved naturally by letting go into the stillness not by trying to work out what I have to change. So the true evolution or the true learning is always in surrendering back to this moment. Isn't that amazing? It kind of goes against everything that we're taught at school when to try and be and succeed and all that. And yet with this game that we're playing, it's the letting go and the ability to be present that makes us see the world differently and experience this moment differently and have different relationships with people and with ourselves. The ability to love ourselves. That was something else that came up strongly with my talk to Mexico the other night was we don't need to be sorry. We don't need to try and be better than what is being presented with us right now to do. You're doing fine. You're doing awesome. You're doing your perfect dance right now without needing to add more to it. If it naturally happens, yes, but that feeling or that idea that I'm not good enough or I need to do more, how can I help? How can I, I feel inadequate, blah, blah, blah. It's all the same stuff. That ownership of those kind of thoughts creates that dynamic inside of us of uncertainty and unfulfillment. There's no satisfaction there. There's that feeling that, something's got to change. And I get it because, I'm very much a doer and operate rather fast. And I've always been told that patience is my, what's the word? Virtue? Is that right? It's my learning of this lifetime is patience. I think there's many things as my learning of this lifetime, but anyway, obviously patience is one of them, isn't it? But when you rest in this moment and come back to just completely surrendering to now, you experience that contrast of what it's like to feel like you need to do things and I'm feeling inadequate because I'm not doing enough, to realizing that if I rest in this moment, you're doing everything you need to do. And then the universe shows you what you need to do. Here's my path. This is my clear direction. This is what my next step is, and it's obvious. And it's changed from what I thought it should be like. That fluidity and that ability to just allow the grace of God to move us is a different way of living than trying to push and impose our own desires and our own time frame on everything. The side effect of the earthquake in Mexico, if they weren't actually in the earthquake, was the feeling of not being good enough, needing to help, feeling not good enough, that what else can we do to help those people? And I'm pretty sure through Houston and the surrounding states and then Florida and the surrounding states and then the Caribbean islands, there's been that feeling a lot of like looking at stuff that's going on and going, well, what the heck do I do to help? So that feeling of being pulled out of what I'm experiencing to look for the answers. The desire itself is pure, so let that be okay. But then the feeling or the thoughts created behind that, well, that's something to see, because you're not surrendering to this moment and letting the universe guide you. The mind now is conflicting, going, gosh, I can't get an answer. I don't know what to do. Should I go left? Should I go right? Should I send money? Should I drive down there and do something? It's up in here. And so that creates the feeling of inadequacy. Is that how you say it? I have to find another word. Isn't that interesting though? Because the desire sounds good and it sounds pure and it sounds like, a worthy thing. But it's a desire for a future moment that creates the uncertainty in our experience. And the thoughts around that become more appealing than actually surrendering to this moment and then acting from there. Allowing the flow of the universe to actually guide us and show us through a very clear and present experience what's the next step and where we can put our help the most. And interestingly enough, like let us not ever forget this, that the greatest thing we can ever do is use our ascension attitudes and use our ability to rest in this moment is actually the greatest thing we can always do for anybody. And then from that place, we get guided to what else we can do. But that ability to be present, like, don't overlook that, of just how vital and how powerful that is. That's where we all connect. That's where, by us enlivening that experience, we start to be able to see and experience for ourselves how we are all connected. That if I'm focused on praise, gratitude, and love in my experience, and I'm present and I'm allowing this moment to exist in its perfection, that is what I'm giving to everybody, because we're all connected in that space. So by me enlivening that and recognizing what is it like to sink back into this moment, what is the universal flavors of now? By me recognizing that and playing in that and surrendering to that, that's what's given to everybody on the planet and everybody on other planets. And beyond time, in the past and in the future too. Because it all exists in this eternal moment. So our ability to rest and let that be the greatest thing that we can give in this moment allows us to then perfectly play our part, and then allow whatever else comes from that place to then be moved through us. What we become somebody told me this years ago, and I love it. We become the flute that God blows through. Is that right? We become the clear channel acting out our divine nature on this planet. So, it's like our practice is a beautiful practice. The guidance is immense in this practice. There's so much guidance around that is and clear guidance, constant guidance to support us to keep seeing and experiencing how we can play with our experience of the present moment more. It's so incredible what this teaching offers us. We have a desire, we have a path, we have a practice. Most people come to this very simply. Most of us, I don't know, just simply wanting something to change for the better. And then yet, as we evolve, we go, holy cow, this is real. Is it a real possibility that I can do this, that I have the ability to be free? This is what you're saying to me, that I can change my life and change my relationship to myself and to this world. And then yet we keep doing our own dance with it, and then playing with more experiences and seeing more things that can change. And our relationship to everything's changing so much that suddenly it's like, well, yeah, this is possible for me. I can rest in this moment. I know what that's like. I can make my practice of ascending that important throughout the day. I can use these techniques with my eyes open, even in contrasting or very intense situations. That was the other thing that came out of Mexico last week too, was people didn't even want to close their eyes anymore. They were scared. And I said to them, thank goodness this is a practice of using it with your eyes open. How are you doing with that? And it's like, oh yeah, that's right. And thank goodness for that. Like there's no box to being free. There's no box to being conscious. There's how we deal with what we're dealing with. Our relationship to everything has the ability to change. And by the practice, we have the tools and the means and the guidance, the beautiful eternal guidance that's around us, to keep making this moment the most important experience to play with, however we're experiencing it. And that's really, really the message for tonight is we have so many judgments, really, and concepts, really. Even the slight little whispers about everything, because we have ideas of where we're going and what we're moving into and what we want. And that's fine. We all have. And it's so amazing to start seeing that even enlightenment will never be the way you think it's going to be. Nope, won't be. That peace is not the way you think it's going to be. That your relationship to yourself is not who you think you are. It's impossible, because straight away you've put a confinement around it. And that puts you into time. And that puts you into a past moment instantly. So that beautiful ability that we're all being trained in, to return to our true nature, to allow ourselves to simply rest in this moment and stay in this moment. Recognize that there's nothing wrong with what you're experiencing now. To be able to just stay here and then enjoy this. What is this eternal moment? What is this experience of right now? What what is this? Who am I in this? It's the greatest dance that you're doing, to change the relationship and to recognize that beautiful consciousness that you truly are, and to embrace every single aspect of that eternal nature that you are, without any ideas, without any concept that there's something wrong with it or wrong with you. What a blessing. What an absolute blessing to be able to play in that arena, or that world, as I like to put it. I see it as two worlds, the world of the mind and the world of consciousness, because it's basically that black and white to me. I'm either thinking and identifying with thoughts, or I'm not. I'm either identifying with the eternal nature and truth of who I am and dissolving into that, or dissolved into that, or I'm not. I don't see a middle ground here. Other people might, and as you go on your own journey and as you discover what you're going to discover for yourself, you might, For me, it's always been very, very black and white. And I've loved that, because my desire to simply go for it and rest in this moment and just see what that's like for me, to play with the eternalness of now and to really let go into experiencing this moment, that's always been what I wanted Ascension to give me. It's not what I wanted all my life. As a concept, I wanted to know God, and I wanted to wake up, and I wanted to know my divine purpose, but I had no idea what that meant. I thought my divine purpose was, what career am I going to have? Who am I? I thought that was, another label, like, oh yeah, well, who am I? Well, am I a happy person? Am I a sad person? So I had my ideas of what those answers should be like when they got given to me finally. And yet it's never about an answer. An answer is a concept, once again, and it's the living experience of right now. Surrender everything. What does that mean? It means play with being present. It means allow yourself to rest into this moment without a need of anything to change in your experience. Whatever you're experiencing, let that be. And then discover, by just resting in this moment, what is it like to interact with your life, or with yourself, or with your emotions, or with your thoughts, or with your world, or with your friends from this moment. One last thing is, there's always more. I was sharing with someone today just something I want to briefly share with you. And it's a little bit about relationships too. It's what I just said too, is by resting in this moment, watching your relationships change. Now that's a very interesting thing, because how easy is it to put a concept on who our partner is, who our friend is? Like, I know you, I've known you for 20 years. I know exactly who you are and what you're going to say. I know how you're going to react. Like, we have these, and it's almost like a show of love and affection by knowing them so well. And yet to really, really love someone is to have no idea of what even happened a minute ago. To really, truly love somebody is to have complete innocence with who they are right now, and to just purely love them. To love yourself so much that you can have that unconditional love, and that source of love that's within yourself. And then to be able to put that presence, or that ability to be present with other people, is how you can totally show up to who they are in this moment. There's no past attached to them. There's no idea of what they did wrong or right, a year ago or a month ago or 6 years ago, or, all that cool intertwined things that we call relationships, all that. What's the word? When you say that you've got all this stuff, what do you call it? When you've got this history, we've got such great history. We've been through so much together. Yeah, it could cultivate these closeness or this understanding of each other in one way. So yes, I'll never knock anyone's ideas ever, hopefully. But it's like, the purest way to love somebody, the purest way to actually talk to your friends, the purest way to actually sit down and have a conversation at dinner time is to have no past. God's sitting there right in front of you. You've turned up and you're there with them in that conversation or at that dinner or in that group of friends. You know, wide-eyed, open-eared, excited to know who's sitting in front of you today, and completely just there to love them and to support them and to listen, because that's why you're in each other's paths right in this moment, with no need from them, to not take anything from them. If they don't say goodbye and they get up and leave, it's them. It's not you. If they don't call you in the next 2 weeks, who cares? You know, because you just love them. You just love them for who they are. You don't need anything from them. You don't need proof that you're good enough. You don't need proof that they're good enough, because they already are. You know, like, to truly love the people in your life is to just give to them and see them in their greatness, no matter what choices they're making, no matter what they do. Allow them their path and allow them to be perfect. Thought I'd just throw that one in at the end. Yeah, I love these. Like I said to you, often what I talk to you about at nighttime is stuff that's happened to me throughout the day, and it kind of just pops. You know, it's like it's already been up in consciousness throughout the day, and then suddenly it just pops back in and goes, okay, it's here to be said. So it's always very, very fascinating for me to see what comes out of these talks, because nothing's planned. I have no script. I have no idea what I'm going to say to you at any moment. So the joys of being present. I fly to Spain finally tomorrow. If anybody who's known what's been happening in my life for the last, I don't know, months. And somebody was saying to me, you know, are you super excited? The usual, you know, are you really excited to get there? And I'm like, well, when I think about it, yeah, of course I am. And then, but I'm here, so I've got stuff to do, and I'm doing what I need to do here. And then somebody said to me, like, well, what about Mexico? Are you sad to have left Mexico? And I'm like, oh, that's right. I was in Mexico 2 days ago. It's like the weirdest thing, isn't it? It's not like you forget. It's just not present anymore moment. So it's like, oh, I'm not hanging on to that until, you know, a conversation and you go back there to talk about it. But it's like, you know, you're just here. So anyway, anyone who knows me and knows my husband, yes, we're going to finally be reunited in a few days' time. So that's very exciting, very cool. I've loved being on this side of the world for these months. I've really appreciated my time outside of the mastery, actually, because the mastery is very, very cocoon and very consuming of me. It doesn't have to be. That just seems the way it is. And to actually have the time or the different focus these months has been really, really fun to actually play in a different way of serving the teaching and serving anyone that was there to be served, you know, and my own experience of just letting whatever's there to happen, because I had absolutely no control over any circumstances for the last 5 months. That's been highly entertaining to see where my life's led me into the heart of Mexico for a number of months, which was awesome. So yeah, I mean, when you play with being conscious, and then there's no stress about what needs to happen or what is happening. I mean, there was so much in these last months that I totally could have freaked out over, you know, like I'm on the opposite side of the world from my husband. How much longer is this going to take? You know, those damn people in Spain doing my visa. What's wrong with them? Bet they're all just polishing their nails at the desk rather than doing my visa application. So, I mean, you totally could just get caught in stuff instead of just completely surrendering to what's happening. And that's what I've really loved about these months is like living that teaching that I've just been sharing with you, of just completely engaging what is in my experience right now, without judgment and without a need for anything to change. And so as a result, I can look back over the last 5 months and go, gosh, that was awesome. What a great opportunity I had to just do something different. instead of going, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for 5 months. What a drag, you know, or how horrible. It wasn't at all. I had the most amazing time. And that's what every moment of life can be like, you know, even the painful moments, either it's emotional or physical, it can be the most amazing day. You know, the times that I get a migraine, to actually now say that was the most amazing day, whereas before I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm never eating bread ever again. It has to be gluten. What is it? What happened to me? Chocolate. It must be chocolate. You know, is it my hormones? Like, what's going on with me? It's like to not have that need to know why anymore, to not have a problem. You know, that's amazing. And then if I do get caught in a problem or an energy about a problem, it's so contrasting that it's like the universe just goes, no, change your attention so that you can just go, okay, I'm not supposed to feel like this after I've just told you you're allowed to feel anything. But, you know, when you're caught in something, you know that you're caught. It's like, okay, I can be more conscious to this right now. There's I'm involved. I've caught on a hold of something. So the dance to waking up is so about whatever is going on in your experience in this moment. Allow it, allow it, allow it. See when you get caught. See where there's just an old pattern playing out. Make the choice. Use the techniques. Use your practice to become more aware of where the thoughts are, where the attention goes, so that you can become more trained, I guess is the weird word, but we're kind of retraining ourselves to be present and training ourselves to be able to let go of the conditioning and the patterns. And then it just becomes so contrasting when you do hook on something, or when you do like start judging yourself about something, that you see it. You just see it to just go, oh, I don't need to do that. I'm not going to, you know, and come back to this moment. It's all about this moment, guys. It really is. Make this moment the greatest thing in your life. And then everything just flows from there. Short and sweet tonight, huh? 1 hour? Does that feel good? Does anybody want to share or say anything? You can just unmic yourself if you want to say anything. Or if you have any questions.
I want to say thank you so much for doing these calls, for being here, for opening yourself up to us.
That's fine too. Well, I'm going to be on the other side of the world for a couple of months. And I got asked today, am I still going to be able to keep doing this? Well, it would be like 3 o'clock in the morning to do these live, like as we have been doing. I think it's like 3 in the morning in Spain right now. Let me just check. Do you need to know? I do. I'm curious now. What is the time in Spain? Good old iPhones. In Barcelona right now. Oh, I went into the weather. I should go into time. That would tell me. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, so that ain't going to happen. I love you so much, but not so much that I'm going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to talk to you guys. But I am considering recording some and then sending that out every 2 weeks. So if that's something people want me to do, and then you can watch them at your own time. You know, they can go up on YouTube, or we can actually send them out through the teachers to then you can just have them at your own time, just a little catch up, a little bit of Jaya juice in your day. One of the teachers in Canada, she watched the recording of one of my talks about a month ago. And she said she was having a dinner date with her husband, and it was the greatest dinner date because it was dinner and Jaya. Instead of watching like a movie, they watched one of my talks. It was like, I just laughed. It was wonderful. But yeah, I'm getting some feedback on the side here. Some people saying they like the idea of the recording, and I'm committed to keep going with this. It's been such a joy for me to just share, and if that's kind of like the vote that you would like a few more, well then I could actually do recordings every couple of weeks and then just post them out. Then we don't have to worry about me sitting there going, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm trying to talk to you. Alrighty. Well, guys, thank you for being here with me. Thank you so much. Love you guys immensely. And hopefully what we've spoken about tonight really helps you to just be super, super gentle and loving to yourself, and to realize that, you know, your infinite nature is eternal and infinite with all the different flavors, and the judgment is the part that separates us. And just see that for what it is. And, you know, you don't have to listen to that stuff anymore. And when you do, it's the game. It's the game of just listening to it and seeing it for what it is. There's nothing wrong with even listening to it. It's part of waking up.
Jaya?
Okay?
Jaya?
I love you guys. I shall see you live in a couple of months, and you'll see some recordings from me in a couple of weeks. Okay? Love, love, love.
Thank you, Jaya.
Hey, Jaya.